Hello everybody, this is Gzilla 2010 again, coming at you for the first time in a little while with an in-person talking kind of video. Kind of wanted to do my yearly update. It's kind of a yearly annual thing for me on my DVD and Blu-ray collection. So I have moved house since my last collection update. I am in an apartment right now. I haven't been able to move all of my collectibles to this location. I have a lot of it, but not everything. I don't have all my Godzillas are still at the previous house, but you know, I was able to take all of my DVDs and Blu-rays. So if we pan out here, this is the horror shelf. And we'll just get started. So if anybody's ever seen my previous videos in my collection series, you may know that I have a weird organization method for my movies. I generally try to organize by genre, first of all, so this is all horror in this big giant bookshelf. And then I also organize by release date from earliest to newest, as well as keeping franchises together. So basically what I will do is, the earliest movie that I own here is Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. That's just a cheap copy that I found, or that was given to me, I should say. And then we have Greg. But basically, each film proceeding onwards will be of a later year. So in this 50 movie pack, these weird like, you know, double features or anything like that, I try to sort by the earliest movie that is in these sets. So of course, you know, we've got some of the early horror movies and stuff like that, like the Universal films. I've got the Essential collection here, which has a lot of the basic stuff on it. Plus I've got the complete Frankenstein, Mummy, Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon collections. There's a Boris Karloff and Lugosi set. I've got like the Old Dark House here, which is a really good movie from back then. The 1930s and 40s are a really cool year. I've got this William Castle set. Doesn't belong, but it sort of does. It's got the remake of Old Dark House on here, which is, of course, franchises, you know, keep all the Universals together. Keep going. We've got The Thing. You know, you normally wouldn't see The Thing so close to the 50s stuff, I guess, but there is, of course, the 50s Thing from Another World here. So right here. So there we go. You just keep on going, and then you get to the 2011 Thing. Moving along into the 50s and stuff like that, we've got Hammer. I've got a decent Hammer collection going now. I've got my Dracula movies, of course, but then I've got like Curse of Frankenstein on this double disc here. I've got a bunch of them on this set, an 8-film set. And then I've got, this isn't technically Hammer, but it's with Dracula, Christopher Lee, so you got to put it with the other Christopher Lee Draculas. And then the Mummy. You've got the Fly movies. I'm still missing the sequel to the Jeff Goldblum Fly. You've got some Criterion collections here, like Fiend Without a Face and The Blob, and you've got the Blob series. This is a kind of a weird set here. This has the 80s remake of The Blob on it, but of course there's other movies on here, and it doesn't really list what's on there, so it's kind of a weird thing. I have to remember that, like, I actually own Fright Night and Seventh Sign and Christine. It's just down here, you know. And if you keep moving along, you know, throughout the years of these movies, I try to keep a good variety of stuff going. So you have all kinds of stuff, you know, not just like any horror, but like the stuff that I feel like is at least semi-decent, or stuff that I've heard of, or stuff that's in collections with other franchises and stuff like that. I really like franchises. So, you know, if there's always a sequel or something, you know I'm going to be after it. Starting to get into the late 70s and early 80s and stuff, you know, and this is obviously like probably my favorite section of the collection, because I love the slashers and I love the 80s stuff. I love all the zany weirdness and the just atmosphere and all the crazy nonsense that went on during the 80s. The comedies, the horror, all of the stuff. Special effects are great and everything. You know, I've got a few boutique labels here, like Severin. They did this Blu-ray release of Don't Go in the House, which is really great. And then, of course, Night of the Demon, the Bigfoot movie, which is one that I show pretty much everybody just because of how crazy it is. And of course, you know, you got like weird double features here, like this one, and then this one, the Boogeyman movies. It's got the 1980 Boogeyman on here, plus like one of the sequels to that one, so that's why it's here. Yep, still working on my Children of the Corn collection. I've got the 7 films there. I'm just gonna have to get the sequels and the remakes and all that nonsense. One of my favorite ones that I watched here recently was Alone in the Dark, and this was one that I had been looking for a long time, but thankfully, good old Scream Factory, of course, managed to put out a Blu-ray version of that, so we have that one in the collection now. And we keep going, of course. You know, some of these franchises are still incomplete, like the Pumpkinhead movies. There's 2 more Pumpkinhead movies that I don't have. I just happened to find this one at a V-Stock out of town, and I was like, oh shoot, well, I gotta get all the other ones then, I guess. And, you know, the Puppet Master series is crazy. I love these big franchises. It's crazy to me how many movies are in this, and I always tell people, there's like 13 Puppet Master movies, and they never believe me, because they're like, what's that? Some of this stuff I've got at like thrift stores and stuff like that, just because I've seen it and I was just like, well, it's like, you know, $1, so I might as well grab it. Like this horror pack. I've not watched anything from this set, and I have no idea if it's any good or not, but it was like $2.50, so I was like, why not, you know? What's crazy to me is, you know, the genres that bend in horror are just, you know, outstanding. Like, I mean, let's look at this pack. I only put this here because of Beetlejuice, because it's like horror adjacent, I guess, but there's also like, you know, Corpse Bride and Charlie the Chocolate Factory, because it's a Tim Burton set. But then, you know, you keep going over, like, some of this is pure horror for sure, but then you've got stuff like Ricky O, The Story of Ricky. I don't think this is horror, but like I keep it here because it's funny and because it's really gory, and I don't know where else to put it, I guess, except maybe next to the Mortal Kombat movies that I have that aren't here. A couple weird things here. This doesn't fit in with the other ones. It's a made-for-TV movie. Again, at a thrift store. I have no idea what it's about. It's got Margot Kidder in it, so maybe it's worth something. We're getting into the top shelf here. So I'm out of space to store any additional movies. This is kind of where it ends off. So what I've had to do is I'm going to start double stacking these. So, you know, 2019 and 2021 for Malignant and, you know, Color Out of Space. So maybe I didn't explain this super well, but basically it will go all the way here, and then starting here, up, 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 and then there, and then whoosh. So all of the newest movies will be continually going to the right and upwards in a year. One thing that I've noticed is that, you know, curiosity is never ending, yet at the same time it's very difficult to land on what to watch. You know, sometimes I'll be looking at these shelves for hours and be like, I don't know what to watch, and yet I have everything. On the top, I have my action figures. I put all my horror guys together, of course, because that's what you gotta do. Very happy with these for the most part. Still looking for a Halloween Kills Michael, but otherwise I've got just about everything that I want. I've got my masks up here as well, my horror masks. And then over here I've got Ghostface and the Night King down there. And in the TV little cupboards here, you have the big 3 slashers on the top, Michael, Jason, and Freddy, in their little special place. They're not on the horror shelf because I just feel like they deserve a special spot. And of course you have a few other down here. You got the Scream series, Texas Chainsaw, Phantasm. Phantasm's there just because it kind of fits. I'm not super attached to that series, but it fits there. Evil Dead, Hellraiser, and Child's Play. So you've got kind of like the big, really big movies series here. And of course the Blu-ray set of Scream Factory's Friday the 13th collection is amazing. I've got a lot of great Blu-rays for a bunch of movies. Moving over to a different area here, I've got my other stuff here as well. So right in this little section, right underneath the science fiction, I'll get to that in a second, we have Scooby-Doo. I've got all my Scooby-Doo stuff here. Basically just, you know, the essential Scooby-Doo stuff, like the original series and Mr. Incorporated, the live action films, and a few other things as well. And the, of course, 90s and early 2000s movies here as well. This is my, like, general science fiction and monster films section that doesn't have anything to do with franchises or Godzilla. So got all kinds of stuff here, lots of Japanese movies, lots of crazy, weird, awesome stuff. You know, like, I love this movie. It's so bad, but you know, you gotta love stuff like that. And then we get into this little section, which has science fiction and other things like monsters that are in franchises or that have sequels. So I've got like King Kong, I've got this 50-pack of movies, has all kinds of stuff in it. I've got the complete Godzilla series, of course. I love Godzilla, I've loved Godzilla forever. Ending, of course, with Godzilla vs. Kong. And I have the Netflix films on a standard bootleg DVD, which is cool. Got complete original Ultra Q and Ultraman series, the complete Gamera film series, the old Daimajin Mill Creek set, the Planet of the Apes series, Mortal Kombat. I've kept Enter the Dragon here because it's Mortal Kombat enough, and I think it's probably one of the biggest sources of inspiration for Mortal Kombat, so I've kept it here with that. Got all the Star Wars movies, good and bad. I've got the Terminator series, RoboCop, Tremors. I'm still missing the other Tremors movie, but I'm not super into Tremors, so I probably won't be getting that anytime soon. I've got the 2 live-action X-Files movies, and the 3rd season there. Jurassic Park, probably my favorite movie, Jurassic Park. And then the rest of the series here. Matrix, still haven't seen the new Matrix. We've got Cloverfield, and then an old family video copy of the 3rd Cloverfield film, and a few other things there. Here in this section, I've got superheroes. So starting at the bottom, we've got DC films. I don't have all of the DC films, but I've got most of the live action ones anyway. Moving up, I've got most of the Fox X-Men films. I think I'm just missing New Mutants. Then starting up, we've got the Spider-Man film, Sony Spider-Man. I need Into the Spider-Verse, and then the new Venom movie still. Moving up, we've got most of the MCU up until Shang-Chi, although I'm missing Black Widow. All I'm missing is Black Widow and the Eternals, and I've got most of the MCU films. Here on this other side, on top here, this is a borrowed movie, and I've got a couple extra comedies there, but I've got on the top animation, mostly kids animation, except of course for a few things. Some anime, some Family Guy, some really adult movies like The Plague Dogs and Watership Down. And at the bottom here, we've got a few more comedies and animation, plus a couple of additional action films and dramas like Rocky, Rambo, Mad Max, and a few other things of that nature. One thing I did want to talk about in this video as well is kind of my mantra for collecting. So basically what I do with collecting is, I know a lot of DVD and Blu-ray collectors will say don't buy DVDs, like standard definition DVDs like this one, because the quality is, as far as disc films go, the quality is not as good as Blu-ray, which is very true. You know, video and all audio quality, this is true. Although you might see a lot of standard def DVDs in my collection, and that's because I'm not as much of an audio and cinephile as other collectors may be. I really just care about owning the movie. If it's in watchable quality, it doesn't bother me. It's totally fine. 9 times out of 10, the DVD is way cheaper anyway. You can get a lot of these DVDs for like $5, and you know, when you're on a budget, that definitely helps, and that definitely, you know, fills that gap in your collection. Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to get the crazies on Blu-ray. I just, you know, I don't care about that movie enough to get a nice def quality, high def quality version of it. It depends on the movie. It depends on what's available. It depends on the price. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but a lot of times, if I can get a standard def DVD for cheap, and it really doesn't bother me. The quality is completely fine and completely acceptable, and most of the time I am just absolutely okay with that. If you ever want to build a collection kind of like this, I would always say, you know, you don't have to, not necessarily just horror, but only buy what you really care about. You don't have to go out of your way to buy everything. You know, I personally just care about owning a variety of things and a lot of franchises. So usually I go for, I'm a completionist when it comes to franchises, so I will try to get as many films in a franchise as I possibly can. And it really bugs me when I don't have, you know, a completed set like that. So that's just my thing, but anybody can do whatever they want when it comes to collecting. So you know, if you don't need to be a completionist when it comes to film series or anything like that, just buy what movies you think are good or what movies you think you would enjoy. And that's kind of, you know, my just personal advice to somebody who is a collector or who wants to be a collector is only buy the things that you personally care about, because the collection, I've heard this a few times before in other videos, but the collection is a reflection of who you are as a person. And so I think it's best to keep that in mind when you're buying movies. Is, you know, it's like, are you really intending to watch this someday, or are you really intending to you know, show this off to somebody in a positive way? So just keep that in mind when it comes to collecting. All right, I think that's all I got for you guys today. If there's anything that you guys want me to take a further look at, just let me know. No problem, I can do that for you. Hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you guys see you guys soon. All right, have a good one.